So what was that horrible set of beeps? Is that I am recording?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, that's the Max video starting. Okay, so this is a Python program that is supposed to, I presume, run in the background, and every uh, fixed interval, it breaks in on you and says that now it's time for you to take a break, and it plays a piece of music or whatever you've set up for it to play. And it's
Okay.
written in Python. And the first thing I do is import a few things. Importing sys is not really a part of this program. I was using the exit that is inside the sys module when I was putting in debug things and taking them out again. The import of time is to allow me to use these intervals, and also time has a function in it that allows the thing to sleep a while and break in after the sleep period is done.
Right.
Web browser opens a web browser. As far as I can see, that is all that web browser does, and I really wish it did more, because it opens a web browser either in a new window or in a new tab. And what I would like it to do is to have one open window and to keep overlaying new addresses on that one open window. And I haven't figured out how to do that, because apparently web browser does not have that as an option.
Right. You want a tab that you're controlling repeatedly.
Yeah, I don't want it to keep opening new tabs, which is what it does.
Yeah. Well. Okay. So that's an improvement that you could make at some point. But since you're never going to develop this into a real application, you won't ever really get around to that.
Right. Okay, so the first thing I have set up is a list of the web addresses that are going to be used to play the break music. And we've been asked to set up 3 breaks. And the program right now is using the 3 breaks as a fixed thing. Eventually, if it were going to be a real program, I guess it would need to allow you to set the number of breaks.
It would need a whole bunch of configurability, how far apart and how many, and
Oh yeah,
what
yeah.
to listen to, and you'd probably want to have an external source of suggested break videos or whatever.
Well,
yeah,
I don't know about that, but anyway, okay, so I have set up 3 break addresses, and you'll notice that I not only include the break address, but I include the length of the clip that I'm playing, so that each member of that list is itself a 2-element list.
Yeah, I see. And your breaks get longer as the person has gotten more tired or whatever you've done here.
Well, yes. And then I set up a variable that is the number of uh, elements in the list, in the break list, because I'm going to need it later.
That's ulen?
Yeah. And then I set the maximum number of breaks that we're going to do as 3. And I set the time between breaks as 10 seconds, which is ridiculously short, but otherwise, when I'm debugging the program, it takes forever.
Why is ulen and repeat, why are those separate variables when they're both 3 and for basically the same reason?
Repeat is actually a maximum number of breaks. You could decide to break before that. You're right, it could have been the same number, but...
Right, well, I mean, suppose ulen is 3, like here, but you set repeat to 5, then your program's going to break, right?
Right, it would be the other way around. Ulen could be longer than repeat.
Boy, this isn't working. If I want to talk, you can't hear me if you're talking, and so we can both be talking and neither of us can tell what's going on. So if there were more URLs in the list than the person wanted to, number of times he wanted to be annoyed, he'd just kill the program after a while, right?
Well, it would just stop because my loop is a for loop. When it finishes its for loop, if repeat is smaller than ulen, then the program will just stop before it goes through the entire list.
Right, but that's implying that if the user decides I only want to take 2 breaks, he has to go edit your program and tell it that repeat is 2. That's not what happens in the real world. The real world is that he just runs it, and when he's had enough of breaks, he just kills the program. Right?
Well, you're talking about an infinite repeat then, and this was set up to be a finite number of repeats, and the way I'm thinking of it is that eventually the user would specify the number of repeats on entry.
Right, and then you'd have to do something like go back over your list of videos if you ran out of them or something like that. Then you'd need to have separate values. But right now, when you've just got an embedded list and you don't repeat it, you don't revisit it.
Well, actually, the program is set up that far. I do have it, if it reaches the end of the list, start from the beginning again.
Yes, I see that now. You make it, you cycle back. So I was wrong when I said that if you set repeat to 5 that the program would break. It would just go back and continue on the beginning of the list. Okay, all right, so go on.
Okay, so...
delay.
The unow is telling me where in the list I am. And I begin it at 0. And then I run a for loop for the maximum number of repeats. And the first thing I do is I print a message that I'm going to now sleep. And I use the sleep function that's in Python's time module.
Right.
And then after it finishes sleeping, I print, okay, time for a break. And I tell him what the current time is, and C time in the Python module gives him the time and the date.
Yeah. Yeah, I know C time.
Okay, and then I tell it to sleep for another 3 seconds because otherwise it goes by too fast for me, and maybe it wouldn't for somebody of the right age for doing this, but it goes by too fast for me if I don't put in a delay at this point. So I delay it, then I open the web browser.
You can't hear me, right?
I can.
Okay, I'm trying to interrupt. I'm trying to point out that if they were doing something else, then they wouldn't be staring at some text terminal that was printing out it's time for a break. So, I mean, your whole mechanism for this thing actually interrupting the person is probably defective. It's really just it's a toy example because, you're seeing it because you're sitting there running this program and focusing on it. If you were off web browsing, you would see nothing until suddenly it popped up a video, right?
Right, except that I'm writing the program that I've been asked to write, essentially.
Right. But I'm just pointing out that as, if this was really intended to do this desired task, it isn't really up to it.
Well, I'm not saying that it is.
Right, okay.
Okay, so then it opens a new tab. It could have opened a new window with the URL of the current thing that I'm going to play. But I have it open a new tab because that's slightly less annoying to me. I really don't like seeing all those windows stacking up on top of each other and nothing ever gets closed. Web browser doesn't seem to have a close browser module.
Let's pretend for a moment, Mom.
Yeah.
Let's pretend for a moment that you were actually writing an application that was going to do this. So you thought you were going to make it, let's say, an app for the iPhone that was going to, be in the Apple iStore and people were going to download it and pay money for it. Yeah. And so what you're dividing between here is, the behavior of opening a new tab means that they will delete it about the third or fourth time that it does that versus the opens a new browser, they will delete it the second time it does that. So you're right, that's an important marketing decision there, how soon to have your application be destroyed. Okay, go on.
Okay. Now, this is something that he does not do in the program that he shows us. I tell it to sleep while the video is running. Because it seems to me that if I don't tell it to sleep while the video is running, then it immediately cycles to the next thing and waits its 10 seconds and starts its second video.
Yeah, of course, because you've given it this 10-second cycle time for test purposes. Supposedly, in the real world, it might be, let's say, half an hour, right?
Yeah, but still, if he says half an hour, he wants half an hour, not half an hour minus the time that it took to run his break thing, which might be 15 minutes.
Okay, but let's say that you are the customer service person on the phone for the company that makes this product, right? And people are going to be calling up and saying, I said I wanted a break every half hour, but it's drifting down a couple of minutes every half hour, and it was at 10:30 and then it was at 11:03. What the hell's going on here? And you'd say, well, you had a 3-minute long video break, and they're going to say, but I was thinking in terms of on the half hour. And then, you know, if you did it on the half hour, not taking account of the length of the videos, then you'd be on the phone with the next person saying, you know, I didn't get half an hour's work done. I only got 27 minutes, and then your damn thing broke in again. So either way, you're going to be breaking somebody's expectations, just a different person.
Okay, well, I guess I chose the person
And
as
I can
being me.
guarantee that if you actually had a product to do this, it would have an option in it that says whether or not to take account of the length of the break object.
Okay,
You would be forced to have an option.
okay. Okay, and then that finish cycle print really is more of a debug print that I forgot to take out because I don't think I wanted to have him see a finish cycle. And yet it sleeps another 3 seconds so that I can get to see that finish cycle print.
Okay. I noticed that you, when you sleep for the length of the video, you're adding 10 seconds to it. Is that to account for how long it might take for the video to start loading or whatever?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I added that after I noticed that my video was taking some time to load.
Okay, so you're trying to be, you're not trying very hard, but you're trying to be sort of accounting exactly for how much time so that he can get his exact length of work between interludes.
I guess. And then when as I finished the cycle, I put myself on to the next place in the list of break music, and if there's nothing left on that list, then I start over at the beginning of the list.
Okay. Right.
And that's
Now,
the whole thing.
Okay. Now I'm going to focus on what Ellie focused on because you use this pound t equals thing to start your YouTube videos at a particular point. And I see you're starting the third one. It's over 2 hours into it. It's the last 70 seconds of some huge thing.
Yes.
Okay. But the middle one is not a YouTube video. Is it also responsive to that hash t equals 30?
Apparently.
I'm surprised, but maybe since YouTube does it and therefore several billion people know to stick that onto their URLs, other people have been encouraged to duplicate it.
Well, what I did find is that I was unable to find some way of stopping the video in the middle.
There is a way, or YouTube has had at least two public, I think they call them APIs, but they're really not well defined enough to be given that highfalutin name. But they've had at least two of them over time, and one of them had start and end, and it may have been deprecated and even decommissioned. But I think there still is a way to do that. It's just poorly documented.
I found documentation for a start and end using a question mark at the start and an ampersand for the end, but when I tried it, it erased that.
It ignored the end?
It not only ignored it, it erased it so that the URL that was shown while the video was playing did not show that I had requested that.
Yeah. there's the rules about how you can use those question marks and hashes are somewhat complicated. The order would be important.
Well, I did the same order as in the explanation that I found.
Was it question mark then hash?
I don't remember. I have to.
Okay, well, if you find that, send me a link and I'll see if I can figure out what they got wrong and see if I can make it right.
Okay. Okay. So I should stop this video, but since we're talking, we can talk a little longer.
Yeah,
So
I'm still, no, I'm amused at, this is Python, but initially I characterized it as Perl, but it's really more like Fortran.
well, my first language.
No, it is really a lot like, writing Fortran in Python, which is something that would really horrify certain people, but that's okay.
Okay, let's get off this video, and then I want you to tell me about what you really mean by that, but I don't think it should be part of this video.